We are now getting ready to introduce our next speaker, Kahreela Anhara. And she's a channel and temple alchemist who is a direct lineage channel for the goddess Anhara, the goddess of portals. She holds ceremonies to help people live more in alignment with yourself and your destiny. Today, she'll be helping us heal the reflections of what we see in the world personally and collectively by healing our subconscious, what she calls our true shadow work. Please welcome Kahreela Anhara. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. What an honor. And I'm going to let you have the stage. Take it away.
So much. Firstly, big thank you to Dan. What an incredible talk to have to follow. I am very, very, very humbled and inspired by that incredible talk that we just listened to. And in some ways, it's led really well into this one. And so my name is Kahreela. I'm from the Starlight Temple, and Starlight Temple does all sorts of ceremonies and courses that are about using channeled information and spirituality and ceremony to become more empowered. And whenever I get an opportunity to speak, I nearly always speak about what my guides call shadow work, because I believe that it is massively missing from a lot of kind of spiritual and evolution and consciousness practices. And because it has changed and served my life so epically and so massively, and I really, really believe that it's actually part of the solution for this time that we are in, and part of our ascension process. And so I would actually like to begin by inviting you. We don't have time to do shadow work. It's quite a long process, but this talk is all about kind of why to do it and a little bit more understanding of what it is and how it's connected to the 0 point of no judgment, and how it can be part of our, what my guides call our inner activism. And I would like to begin by just inviting you to close your eyes and just listen to a message that I was woken up with in the night in 2019, that for me just really captures why doing our shadow work is so important. And so if you close your eyes and listen to the message, then I will go in to more details about what shadow work is and how to do it and so on. And so the message is this: your self-work is not selfish, it is service, especially your shadow work. The planet is burning, the seas are choked, the soils are barren of nutrients, and everything is becoming more poisonous. And we are letting leaders that can only be described as mad kings rule and ruin us. We have to address the reasons why this is happening by looking into the depths of ourselves. We urgently have to do the shadow work. We have to face these pains, the ones that are so scary that we do everything in our power to numb them. We have to face the traumas that we spend whole lifetimes distracting ourselves from, avoiding them with cheap thrills and drama and screens. We have to face the shames and the guilts that keep us small, the reasons why we hand our power over to leaders. We have to face the beliefs that keep us bound to systems of corruption. and the bitterness that is causing mass poisoning. We have to face the separation that keeps us unloved, egocentric, and disconnected. Because when we are numb to our own pain, we are numb to the needs of the planet. When we are distracted, we are living unconsciously. When we hand our power over, we are living irresponsibly. When we live bound, we serve the madness. We block our paths from happening. While we are bitter with stories of the past, we will keep competing. Until we face the separation in ourselves, we cannot live in harmonious connection with the earth. Until we face those wounds of unlovedness, they will continue to vacuum up life through the desperate overconsumption that we are witnessing. My guides often say that change can only happen through inner and outer activism. So yes, do the outer activism, give money and feel better, make new consumer choices and live better. Give Gaia a voice by showing up in protest and march bravely in the face of looming totalitarianism. Do all of those outer things you can, but please, 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 please also do the inner activism. Because when you heal your own shadow, you help the collective shadow to heal. Shadow work is how you become the change. It is time for us to uproot the causes and face them fearlessly. This is my service. It is your service. It is our service. And it is the way through. And so when you're ready, opening your eyes and just noticing if maybe something has moved in you, something has stirred in you. And of course, when we kind of list what is going on our planet right now, it feels almost impossible. It feels like, wow, how are we going to deal with all of this? And part of the reason I am so passionate about shadow work is because it's one of the ways that every single person on earth can help. And especially now, because you can do it from your own home. And so what shadow is from a channeled point of view, from a shadow work point of view, it's not as scary as it sounds. It is the unconscious. So it is the subconscious. And as beings, we are creating our reality. We are manifesting and vibrating our reality. From a shadow work perspective, we have kind of two realities. So we have our immediate reality, and then we have our collective consciousness manifestation. And, you know, as human beings, we are made up at the moment of our consciousness and our shadow and our subconsciousness. And these are both creating our realities. They're both manifesting our realities. And they are both vibrating. Belief systems, memories, everything that kind of consciousness is made up of, emotion, the shadow and the light, the consciousness are both vibrating and both creating. And you know, a lot of people kind of consider being conscious as kind of one step, whereas a shadow work perspective is many steps. It is about making as much of your shadow conscious as possible, because when you make your shadow conscious, that's when you are not manifesting from things that you don't want. And the thing about the shadow, the thing about the deep subconscious is really, it is the unjudged space. It is the space between the stars within you. In many ways, you could say it is the 0 point. It has the 0 point energy in it, and that's why it's so good at creating and manifesting. And so it's the unjudged space within ourselves, within the body of ourselves, including our aura and our DNA. In Japan, they are actually doing research into the junk DNA to see if that is where the subconscious actually is. And the subconscious is, like I said, what we cannot see. So it holds everything that we do not know about ourselves, and everything that we have maybe judged about ourselves and kind of put away over there to be dealt with at another time when we've judged it. And it is a loving space. It is a space, I always think of it as like the attic, like filled with loads of information, memories, books, all sorts of things. And it's part of the house. And therefore it's creating, if the house is you, the attic is generating and creating and manifesting. And in my experience, and this has been true time and time and time and time again for me personally, is when I try to manifest something, some things instantly manifest, some things, perfect, brilliant, I'm wonderful at manifesting, yay. And then sometimes I almost get the opposite, or that which I'm trying to manifest just isn't flowing, just isn't arriving. It's just my reality is not reflecting the consciousness, the belief systems I have in my consciousness, the things I've learned, the things I've seen are possible. And that is where shadow work is most useful. It's for the blocks. So from a shadow work point of view, what happens when you manifest or consciously create is like all of those things in the attic, in the shadow, also fire up, also activate. And and very often they are in conflict with what is going on the conscious level, not because they are trying to fight the consciousness, just because the shadow is made up of ancestral memory, past life memory, childhood memory, collective consciousness that we've collected over time. And that part of the self believes those things and so is manifesting them. And so one of the examples that I like to give is somebody's trying to manifest a new partner, and they're doing everything that they can possibly do consciously to make this happen. They're doing the actions, they're doing the vibration work, they're doing it all, and it's just not happening. Or every day they're going on, it's not working. And then when you go into the shadow, what you see is that there's maybe a lifetime where this person has promised to never love again. And so as soon as kind of love is coming into the consciousness, all of the belief systems around love are firing off. And the shadow part of the self is really trying to honor that promise. It's really trying to honor that promise because it's survival, because it believes in it. Because it's trying to protect you. And so it's having an effect on your thoughts, words, and actions, and creating unconsciously. And this is what I mean about coming into consciousness. It's not just asleep, awake. It's making more and more of yourself awake, because as soon as a promise like that is in the consciousness, then the power of your free will can stop operating from it. Then the power of your free will can stop manifesting from it, can stop creating from it. And then the amazing thing about shadow work is that the reality changes. You know, when you really do the root work with shadow, the reality changes, and it doesn't change straight away. The shadow is like the soils, and so it's like if you plant a load of new things in the soils and uproot a load of things, just like over time that garden is going to start looking very, very different. It is exactly the same with shadow work. It starts to show up, and you remember doing that work, that ceremony, that healing, and you're like, oh my gosh, my reality is completely changed. It's completely transformed. And for me, this is why it's such important work to do at this time, because we do not just have a personal shadow. We also have a collective shadow. And how you know your shadow, so how you know your shadow without going deep down into it, which is what you do for shadow work. But if you want to kind of know what your consciousness is creating right now, all you need to do is look at your life. In shadow work, your life is the map of your consciousness. So everything that's going good and going well and going to plan, that's what your consciousness is manifesting. And those things that feel like they are not going to plan, or that are causing kind of emotional response, or frustration, or feeling like they're not something you want to be creating, they are the things they are the map of your life pointers to what you need to go and have a look at on the kind of deep subconscious level. And at the moment, collectively, we are seeing mass shadow purging on the collective level. And from a shadow work point of view, if you see it, then it is manifest, then it's in your shadow. And that means that every single one of us that are seeing all of those things that I just mentioned when you had your eyes closed, and everything else we're seeing in the world, every single one of us that is seeing it can do something about it. We can do inner activism on what we're seeing. We can go in and find, those ancestral reasons why our ancestors believed in giving power away to leaders. Or one of the kind of biggest breakthroughs I had is I was meditating, and I was like, the human collective has been masking its truth, and now we're all walking around masked. And so there is, on the map of the life level, there is always an A to B. And I'm not going into the A to B. Like, that gets sorted out. What I found is, it's like, yes, there is the A to B on the map of the life level. Obviously, that's how life is created. And there is kind of those surface levels. But what shadow work is about doing is not about sorting out the A to B. It's about uprooting the thing that is creating it, the thing that is manifesting it, from a very, very different level. And actually, in my experience, what happens is the A to B just kind of sorts itself out, and suddenly you're in a different reality. Of course, when we do collective shadow work, then we need more of us to uproot it, in a way, than if you're just doing personal shadow work. But I really believe that is part of our service at this time. And there are so many reasons to do shadow work, partly the manifesting, but also, one of the things it really kind of develops in you is a different perspective on life. You stop being reactive, you start being in conversation, you start being responsive, and also you become unjudged, because like I said, every time you deep dive into your shadow, it's the unjudged space. The reason that stuff is there is because it hasn't been processed properly. It's because it hasn't had the ceremony it's needed to process. The shadow doesn't only hold trauma, it also holds everything that's beyond your limitations. So it holds all of the things, you know, the gifts that you've forgotten, the potential, the things that you kind of can't conceive in your consciousness. And so diving into your shadow is like diving into an ocean of possibilities, and it allows you to become unjudged, which of course then allows you to become more unlimited, allows you to actually start creating from that 0 point energy, from that kind of creator self energy, because it's you know a judgment that is always what stops the creative flow, always what stops the imploding and exploding of creativity. And it also, and this is what I think is so important, is shadow work also aligns with how Mother Earth creates, because we are creative beings, but we come to Earth, to this planet, to learn the creativity of Mother Earth, which is alchemy, which is the ability to turn manure back into life force, which is the kind of processes of transformation that are in every breath and every bit of digestion and every happening moment on this planet. Like, I really believe that we come here for alchemy. You know, as souls, we come here for the alchemy that that can happen on our soul DNA, which is essentially our shadow. It's what we come here for, and I believe we will always come to this blue-green healing planet, no matter how high vibrational this planet becomes, because she is an alchemist. And the law of alchemy, you know, it creates through creating space. And so what shadow work it does is it's about creating space in your consciousness to call in, to magnetize in a new reality. And when I say consciousness, I mean the kind of combined layers of the consciousness, from the body to the what is referred to as the consciousness, to the shadow, to the victim field. What shadow work is about going, okay, I'm going to spring clean my consciousness. I'm going to get rid, or not even get rid, I'm going to recycle, because that is the way of change on this planet. I'm going to offer up all of that energy that is believing these things that my consciousness, my personality and higher self are aware are not of service to me anymore. And I'm going to offer these into the recycling process in the same way that the trees offer the leaves. Because this is how this planet doesn't just create one reality, it creates reality after reality with every season and every day. And, you know, that is what we are here for, is that recreation. We're very good at creation on a soul level, but life is for recreation. And I believe that we are learning at this time as human beings, coming possibly out of our teenage years and coming into in the 21st century, coming into adulthood, which is about creative responsibility, which is about going, okay, which tools or which materials am I going to get rid of and not be creating from anymore? And it, like I said, it's not even throwing them away, it's actually offering them into the creative process, because the energy is needed. So the energy of belief, in shadow work, if you hit a belief system, for example, it's better to mask your truth. It's safer to mask your truth. There's loads of emotional energy in there. There's loads of belief energy in there. There's loads of creative energy in there. And when you choose to kind of let it go and let all of it go and let the bit it's giving you go, because it's always giving you something in shadow, that's when that energy is then able to be recycled back into prana, and it literally implodes and explodes. You know, it literally brings you into the zero state in your aura, in your alchemical aura. This is why I was saying Dan's talk in some ways is so perfectly aligned. And then you have more prana in your consciousness, more creative energy in your consciousness, more unlimited energy in your consciousness. And energy for creation is created out of the offering of the old. And, you know, there's lots of different ways to do shadow work. But one of the most important is ceremony. And ceremony is powerful because ceremony, firstly, I believe that our human role is to be in ceremony, a bit like the bees are here to pollinate. We are here to do ceremony. We have all of the right bits. And ceremony is something that, you know, kind of is the language of symbolism, which is a much older language than the language of your mother tongue. And, you know, there's parts of your shadow that don't know how to speak your mother tongue. And so ceremony speaks to them in the language that those parts of the shadow can understand. And that's why ceremony is so effective for shadow work. And what I kind of realized as I was tuning into this talk, which like I said is really just a call to invite you to be part of the inner activism revolution, that I believe shadow work is going to do for the planet. But as I was tuning in, I about this talk, I was thinking, like, right now we're seeing, you know, when something's ready to be healed in the shadow, it pops up into your reality as a kind of block or as something that is challenging. And it repeats and it pops up again and again and again. Because life is serving your shadow work. Life is serving your soul's shadow work. And as I was tuning in about this, I was thinking how much we're really seeing the collective shadow purging things that belong to Pisces, things that we are not taking with us. And then suddenly I was reminded of a very, very important moment in my path where my guide started to talk all about the kind of ceremonies that we have lost as human beings that actually mean that we wouldn't live with so much shadow. It's almost like, you know, we've become hoarders as human beings because we've lost certain ceremonial practices that would mean that actually we don't have to deal with as much shadow as we, or as much traumatized shadow as we are now dealing with. And one of the ceremonies they talked about was about this, the death ceremonies. And what they said was that, you know, when people do not die instantly, but are in a process of death, really, 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 that is the most transformative state you can possibly be in. That's when you're literally in it, you know, in between life and death. You're in the most incredible state of transformation. And originally that time period would have been used for the DNA to get cleared out and healed of belief systems that you know served in that lifetime but are not necessarily meant to be passed on, and so forth. You know, there would have been certain ceremonies for the person that's on their deathbed to kind of clear out in that energy of transformation. And of course those ceremonies haven't happened. And so now we are backed up with like I said, we're hoarded. We've become hoarders of belief systems and ancestral information and stuff that, you know, might have been relevant 200 years ago, 300 years ago, in the time of Atlantis. Is it relevant now? And the beautiful thing that I saw when I was tuning in today is that we all know that we are alive today and witnessing the death of Pisces, the death of the age of Pisces, and out of it, out of the alchemy of that death, the birth of Aquaria. And I suddenly had this moment of like, you know, we're seeing the purging that is meant to of consciousness that is meant to happen with a slow death. All of this Piscean separated consciousness, we are seeing it purging because, you know, the collective consciousness is more ceremonial. It's honoring the ceremony, so to speak, so that we don't take this stuff into the future. And as the ceremonialists of Gaia, we can help this along by performing those ceremonies, by doing those death rites, those death ceremonies, by doing another amazing way is what my guides call temple or aura alchemy on these things that we're seeing. We're seeing them because we are meant to. And because we are meant to, we've got to use something. And this is what I mean. And the beauty of shadow work is that we have got to learn how to become full co-creators. And the material that we create out of is us. And why shadow work is so good for humanity is because so much of what we do not understand on a conscious level, so much of what we do not identify with on a conscious level, in the shadow, we find the reason why. We find the reason why. And that reason why gives us compassion, gives us connection, gives us community, gives us all of those human heart forces that are forces of human heart creation or non-judgment or human heart 0 point. And at the same time, it teaches us to perceive everything as energy. You know, my guides love to say that, you know, we are moving out of a time of story into a time of ceremony. You know, Pisces was all about living and creating through story. This happened to me. Hero, victim, perpetrator. Aquaria is about creating through ceremony, which is really just perceiving everything as energy, is perceiving everything in that non-judgment 0 point field of the self. And this is how we become the change. And everything in the map of your life, you can, you know, you can do shadow work on. I have never met something that I haven't been able, you know, whether it is physical, whether it is a reality that is somebody showing up in my reality, whether it is abundance, any chakric level of creation. If there is a block, you can go in and find what's going on the subconscious. I've never not been able to find something. And so for me, this is about part of us becoming active, life not happening to us, and it, to a degree, life not parenting and systems of life not parenting us, but us actually becoming the co-creators that we know we can be. Us actually living Gaia's laws of exchange, which is, you know, every season there is alchemy, there is exchange. There is letting go and offering that of old reality that needs to happen. And shadow work is that offering, is that letting go that needs to happen. And there's loads of different ways of doing shadow work. The way that I find most effective, which is like shadow surgery, is a process called Temple Alchemy, which is where spirit really kind of helps you to activate the alchemy that is innate in your aura. There is ceremony, there is medicine work, there are many different ways, but you know what, there are even simpler ways than those big ways. I recommend them, especially for the big stuff, like the collective stuff, but the smaller stuff and the personal stuff, just holding your awareness that this might be coming from shadow will bring it out, you know, everything in the shadow is waiting to come into your consciousness so it can go through its process, so it can be grieved, so it can be honored, so it can be let go ceremonially. And so just holding the intention to do your shadow work is enough to start bringing this conversation into your reality. And you can always say, you know, I clear, cancel, and delete this. The Hoponono, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. You can always say whatever you want to say in terms of kind of ceremonially letting go. You can always invoke, you can, you know, one of the most powerful things you can do for your life is go, I clear, cancel, delete, and de-story across all timelines and dimensions and vibrations of myself any promises I have made to stay small. Because this is not the time to be staying small. And you know, so much of what we want to manifest is really so we can expand. And so much of what we're seeing on the collective level right now is the collective reasons to stay small. And so, you know, my guys even said recently, they were like, you know that your victim consciousness is just your permission to stay small. That's all it is the story, the thing that happened, the permission that you have given yourself as you to stay small. And so if you want to get those victim programs out of your reality, the places where you're feeling overpowered or where you're feeling small, one of the most powerful practices is just to use the power of your free will, which, you know, I believe part of the laws of the 0 point creative, which has laws within it, which has creational laws within it, field, is that the law of free will, that all energy will flow through free will, that free will is almost the trump card in terms of it is the card that allows everything to change, no matter how big a belief system is, no matter how big a trauma is, no matter how enormous collective consciousness fields are. We are free. We are free to make a new choice. But things can only pass because the free will is in our consciousness. Things that are in the subconscious they have to be brought into the consciousness, they have to be felt, they have to be witnessed, they have to be seen, they have to be honored as energy in order to pass through that portal of free will, in order for them to stop being part of your thoughts, words, and actions subconsciously. And so commanding your free will is the simplest form of shadow work that there is. And finally, I would say it's not, you know, it's not scary in terms of, you know, in terms of inner activism, and this will be my last point because I know I'm running out of time, but in terms of inner activism, shadow work is womb work, it's deep feminine work, it's alchemy, it's earth work, it's how the mother creates. It is how the soils create. It is all of that. And you know, the things that our society has suppressed or named or demonized or made us frightened of, consciously or unconsciously, I will let you find that out in your shadow. But it doesn't matter. This is what I mean about the 0 point of non-judgment. It doesn't matter whether it was deliberately done or accidentally done. All those things that we have been taught to fear or not face, they are the power to change the reality that we're in. Because it's us not facing them that has created this reality. And so, and because we are creating them, and this is the point. Shadow work, everything you don't want, you are creating it. And you are creating it for a very loving, beautiful reason, like protection, or because it's what your grandmother taught you, or to please your parents. You are creating it for a beautiful reason. And because your shadow, or that part of you, is trying to love you and trying to help you survive. But you have the free will and the tools and the ceremony and the alchemy of this life. That if it's not serving you, if it's not feeling good for you and your soul, through the alchemy of non-judgment, you have the power to take it out of the creational system. And that is shadow. And that's why it's so important. Sorry, going on.
I tried to time it. I thought, oh, that was the last point. There it was. So beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, my favorite quote is actually from you, just happened. Victim consciousness is your permission to stay small. I think that's beautiful. And it's something that I even work with my people that, you know, take my classes and so forth. It's all about empowering them, because they want to go to someone else to fix their problems, but they can fix all their problems themselves. And it's all a matter of getting them to realize that. So that's a beautiful statement for that.
Yeah, it only just came through. In a course I'm running, and I'm like, oh, this has changed everything.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. I also like how we're matching, that we both got the orange going on. So
it's all about the sacral.
So thank you so much for being a part of this. It's so wonderful to have met you. I really just met you during our interview. So I look forward to seeing all the wonderful things that you do moving forward.
Thank you so much, Xane. Thank you very much. And such an honor to be part of this amazing event. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bye now.
Bye.